If you're a novelist following the Save the Cat plotting method, you might be wondering, what's the relationship between beats and chapters? Or in other words, how do the beats break down into chapters and vice versa? In today's video, I'm breaking it down. Hello writers, Jessica Brody here, author of the #1 bestselling plotting guides, Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and Save the Cat Writes a Young Adult Novel, and the founder of the Writing Mastery Academy. If you remember, Save the Cat started as a screenwriting guide. When I adapted the method for novels, obviously there were some key differences that rose to the surface, one of them being chapters. Now, screenplays typically don't have chapters, and novels typically do. So how do the beats relate to chapters? How many chapters should each beat be? Great questions. And the answer, as is usually the case, is it depends. Super helpful, right? Well, let me see if I can clarify and shed some light on this topic. First up, let's talk about chapters. When it comes to writing chapters, I'm a big fan of the you do you method. When writers ask me, how long should a chapter be? I tell them, that's up to you. As you probably know from being a reader, chapter lengths vary greatly depending on the author. Some authors are known for having very short, snappy chapters, while others choose to have longer, sprawling chapters. It really is a matter of preference. Chapters are actually really hard to talk about when teaching writing because they're such an arbitrary divider of a story. That's why I like to talk about scenes rather than chapters. What's the difference? Well, in a nutshell, scenes are individual units of action or events, acting as mini stories within the larger narrative. They usually have a location, an action, and a goal associated with them. Chapters, on the other hand, are less precise divisions, which can contain one or multiple scenes. Chapters are used to help manage the story's pacing and shape the reader's experience of the story, while scenes are the building blocks of your story by focusing on specific events of the story. If you'd like to learn more about scenes and how to craft effective ones that are designed to engage your reader from the first page to the last, we've got a fabulous self-paced scene crafting masterclass in the Writing Mastery Academy. I've put a link to that in the description below if you're interested. Why am I telling you about scenes? This was supposed to be about chapters. Well, because the number of scenes in your chapters are going to determine your beat-chapter relationship. As you might know from reading Save the Cat Writes a Novel or Save the Cat Writes a Young Adult Novel, or from taking my official Save the Cat online novel writing course, the 15 beats of the Save the Cat method vary in length. Some beats are only a single scene, like the catalyst, the break into 2, the midpoint, the all is lost, and the break into 3, among others. While other beats are much longer, like the setup, debate, fun and games, and the bad guys close in. We call these longer beats multi-scene beats because they span multiple scenes. So to put things very simply, if you prefer to write shorter one-scene chapters, then your single-scene beats will probably only be 1 chapter long, while your multi-scene beats could be as many as 20 chapters long, depending on the length of your novel and your story. Here's an example using one of my own novels. I've taken my middle grade novel, Addie Bell's Shortcut to Growing Up, and broken down the beat-chapter relationship so we can see it more visually. Okay, let's take a look. As you can see here in the opening image, which is a single scene beat, Addie receives a magic jewelry box from her eccentric neighbor. This scene consists of 11 pages and spans the entire first chapter of the novel. The setup, however, is a multi-scene beat in which we get to know Addie and her frustrations with being 12 and her immature classmates. Then, after Addie has a fight with her best friend Grace at a slumber party, she writes, "I wish I was 16" on a piece of paper and locks it in the magic jewelry box. These are multiple scenes or multiple events that span pages 12 through 50 and chapters 2 through 7 of the novel. The theme stated comes on page 35 in chapter 5 in a single scene beat that happens within the setup. And the catalyst, another single scene beat when Addie wakes up in an older body and a life that she doesn't recognize, happens on page 51 through 59, or all throughout chapter 8. The debate spans multiple scenes, and in this novel, multiple chapters, chapters 9 through 11. Hopefully you get the picture. If you'd like to see the entire beat sheet and all the chapter beat breakdowns, I'll link to a blog post where I include a full breakdown in the description below. So that's just one example of how beats break down into chapters. And as I said, chapter lengths are very subjective and vary from author to author. So I urge you to read and analyze stories, pay close attention to how other authors structure their chapters. How many scenes are taking place in each chapter? How do the authors choose to end their scenes? With resolutions or cliffhangers? Is there a general flow to the chapters? And how are the beats relating to those chapters? I hope this helps. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, happy writing.